Hello, everyone. This is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Today, we are looking at the digital transformation of the Canadian home. In 2026, e commerce isn't just about delivery speed, it's about creating a personalized, high value experience that turns a house into a home. Joining us today is Connor Delaney, General Manager of Wayfair Canada. Since joining Wayfair in 2016, Connor has led cross functional teams in pricing, marketing, and operations to make Wayfair.ca the go to destination for all things home in Canada. With the recent launch of Wayfair Rewards, he is here to discuss customer loyalty, retail trends, and how Wayfair partners with Canadian SMEs. So, before further ado, let's welcome this special guest. Connor, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks, Kripa. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the opportunity.
I'm super excited for this conversation, Connor. Now, you've led Wayfair's expansion across the country, right? But the Canadian home retail market has its own specific quirks, so to say. So let's start the conversation by understanding what makes the Canadian home retail market unique and how is customer behavior, changing over time. What do you see?
Yeah, sure. And I think in our business, there's quirks within the home industry that carry through regions. The home is different from other industries. And then there's quirks within the Canadian market as well that
Yeah.
Canadian market and Canadian customer are a little different than other geographies. So we're sort of combining both of those to make a platform that works. And for home, it's a category that's more stylistically and visually shopped than other areas. It's not strictly function. And so the couch that meets your style and function needs is probably going to be different than the one that meets my needs. And so our platform is designed specific for home. And that carries through geographies, but is different than other industries. As well as home purchases are highly considered. And so customers, they think carefully at purchasing what they're purchasing. It's usually higher ticket items. They're tied to events like moving, renovating, welcoming new family members. They're often items that are going to be in homes for many years. And so it's a category that has high consideration. And in the Canadian region, as you think about what differences apply on top of that, there are customer style differences that are different from other regions. And even within the country, if you think about
Mm-hmm.
the top selling furniture set in Vancouver is very different from the top selling furniture set in Montreal. And so our platform, we have a ton of assortment, over 8 million SKUs on our Canadian site. And so we provide different options and styles that meet those needs, and kind of get into that value prop that can vary from region to region. And in terms of the other aspect of your question of kind of how it's changed, I would say, post COVID, there was a shock of just this supply shock, and a lot of customers struggling to find available products in stock in that year or two after COVID, and that's largely
Yeah.
settled out, where availability is sort of back on track and more stable. But now customers are dealing with disruptions in other areas. If you read the news headlines, all these geopolitical events in areas like tariffs and rising fuel prices, the customer is very
Mhm.
conscious of value and how to find value. And so the demand's still there, but I would say tied to that high consideration, there's due diligence that goes into making sure the product I'm buying meets the kind of price value that I'm looking for. And ultimately, the retailers that are able to mitigate those concerns and control costs are the ones that we see winning.
No, very well articulated. That was a very well balanced answer. Would you say, Connor, that the Canadian consumer today is more conscious of each penny that is, getting out of the pocket? And like, of course, the geopolitical reasons are there, but why else do you think? Is it also a mindset issue from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the Canadian customer, we've always seen this. It's not just in recent years, but there are a lot of ways products can be fulfilled within Canada. It could come from a local warehouse, you could pick it up from a store, it could go across the border. And so I think Canadian customers are wary and used to that, and they do their due diligence, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not always that they're picking the cheapest option. They just want that combination of price value to meet their needs, right? And so
Right.
um, there's a little more, I would say, like rigor, and they're intelligent about what goes into it. They don't want to pay a bunch of sticker shock inflated prices from extra supply chain costs. And so, again, that's like kind of what we prioritize of how can we provide this vast assortment at the most cost effective approach so that we can kind of surface that price value combination that meets their needs.
I'm sure all the Canadian listeners are very happy with this, a smart strategic approach that, you've applied to them. And definitely, I agree with you, Connor. Adapting to the specific regional needs of Canadians is exactly why Wayfair has become such a trusted household name. Next, let's explore why and how Wayfair Rewards is strengthening customer loyalty in Canada. So, Connor, why launch Wayfair Rewards in Canada now? And how exactly does it support your long term strategy?
Sure. So if we think about the journey of Wayfair Canada, we launched our brand about 10 years ago. In those early days, it was really about getting our brand name out there, getting people familiar. We have a Canadian site, who Wayfair is, what we
Mhm,
offer. And we've made a lot of great progress on that over the years. And now, as we think about this next leg of how we can continue growing in Canada, it's really tied to customer loyalty and repeat purchasing and really giving customers a reason to choose Wayfair as their destination for a home purchase across all the different options. How can we showcase value? Going back to values, very prominent, has always been very prominent. How do we give customers a reason to choose Wayfair as the option? And how do we
mhm,
extract value for that? So we launched our loyalty program, Wayfair Rewards, in the US about a year ago and have been really excited by the results there. And the Canadian market as our first expansion market. We launched it about a month ago in
mhm,
Canada, which is super exciting. And there's a handful of benefits that are applied, but really the structure of the program was simple and transparent benefits that make it really clear to the customer
mhm,
of what it is. And so, for example, we give 5% rewards cash back. It's not a complicated point system. And
mhm,
as we were talking about earlier on kind of those market nuances, there's a lot of high ticket items. And so even the purchase of a single couch, if you're spending, say, $1,000, 5% rewards back on that immediately turns into real dollars that they don't expire. Rewards member get free shipping. And so we've seen a
mhm,
lot of customer behavior of starting by maybe signing up with that bigger ticket item. And then those rewards dollars are immediately in your account and they might turn to purchase a lower ticket item like a pillow or bedding that those dollars go a long way towards and they don't have any shipping minimums anymore. So that's sort of
mhm.
what's about the evolution of getting our brand out there versus extracting value to drive a reason to choose Wayfair.
Wow. Firstly, a huge congratulations on the Canadian launch, Connor. And before we go any further, here's a special message for all the listeners, especially for all the entrepreneurs and retailers watching. In 2026, loyalty is the new currency. Wayfair's launch of rewards at just $39 CAD a year is a masterclass in delivering immediate, tangible value. If you want to survive the current market, you have to move beyond one off transactions and build a program that rewards your customers for staying. Whether it's 5% back on priority service, your goal is to make your brand the go to choice, just like Wayfair is doing. Don't just sell a product, sell a membership to a better experience. Take a page out of Wayfair's book and start rewarding the people who keep your business alive. Coming back to you, Connor, I completely agree with you. Focusing on immediate value and member only sales, it's a brilliant way to demonstrate that loyalty is a two-way street. Um, Next, let's discuss how Wayfair supports and scales partnerships within Canadian SMEs. So, majority of our listeners would be SMBs or even, the larger organizations. But in Canada specifically, what opportunities does Wayfair offer Canadian SMEs to, grow online as well?
Yeah, sure. As you think about the Wayfair business model, right, we have this marketplace with two sides. You have the supply side where we work with thousands of different businesses, our
Hmm.
suppliers who are putting their products that they source or manufacture on our website. And so, opportunities for if you are a business in the home category or an entrepreneur thinking about starting a business in the home category, um, Wayfair offers the ability to reach scale fast using our network and tools. And so, for example, we have our warehouse network positioned around Canada, around US, of our warehouses where you can put your products in and reach distribution nationwide, even into the US, as we work with our US team as well. And then a ton of data and tooling that gives you insights on, okay, I've developed this product, but is this a product customers want? Well, for example, could surface information like here is what customers are searching for, and we have a product gap in. So this could be a new product that fits into, your assortment strategy over time. And so one of the fun parts about my job is I get to interact with leaders and teams of all these thousands of different businesses who sell on Wayfair, and you just
Mhm.
hear so many different success stories of companies who started scrappy entrepreneurs trying to figure something out, and now all of a sudden are big businesses operating in multiple geographies across the Wayfair ecosystem. Or there's different ways to win. We can sell in different product categories, different price points. And so really like our platform is about giving the tools for your business to be successful.
Mhm.
And there's so many ways for it. And then on the flip side of it, right, we have customers who are interacting with us daily, millions of customers who are interacting. And outside of just the typical consumer, we also work with thousands of Canadian businesses on their project needs through a B2B program. And so,
Mhm.
for example, independent interior designers who are furnishing project needs across their spaces, or daycare centers who need to furnish their daycare centers across Canada. And so there's also opportunities, even if you're not a business that's selling in the home, to work with our B2B
Mhm.
program. And we offer specialized pricing, specialized support, and enrollment as well. And so many of those business stories you see play out as well. If here's a particular project, I need help on how to complete this at scale and leverage Wayfair's expertise and style and service to be able to complete it. So we get pieces of aspects there too.
It's great to know that Wayfair is doing so much for the Canadian SMBs here in Canada, providing a global platform for local artisans and manufacturers. It definitely allows Canadian SMEs to reach audiences they never could have on their own. So thank you so much for bridging that gap. Now let's look at how Wayfair delivers personalized experiences at that global scale. Um, when we talk about organizations, one thing that always pops up is the experiences that, any brand makes you feel. So, the question to you, Connor, is how exactly do you balance large scale operations with personalized customer experiences?
Yeah, great question. I think the way I think about it is there are some aspects you want to personalize, but there are some things that no matter what the customer, this is something everyone's gonna like, right? Good
Yeah.
pricing, fast speed, good service, quality delivery. If I have an issue, how am I going to deal with it? That sort of stuff, I think, is where we leverage our scale to
Mhm.
deliver that value prop across the customer experience, right? No matter what type of customer I am, I'm going to want a good price. I'm going to want it fast. I'm going to want it delivered well, right? And so we use the scale of our warehouses, like I mentioned, that are allow us the ability to forward position products around the country.
Mhm.
We have an awesome customer service team that helps deal with issues fast and in a way that solves problems that customers build trust with us. And then, okay, on the personalization side, we had that example earlier of the stylistic differences. And so you think about every touch point across the website, if for the first time the customer is typing in Wayfair, to how they're searching, what products they're
Mhm.
seeing for the first time. And so that's where you can start to personalize for style and clicks. And so the type of products that we show a customer searching in different regions might be different based on what we know about their preferences, based on how they've been interacting with us.
Yeah.
So we want to make it easy to surface the products that meet your needs, and we do a lot of personalization within how customers interact with us to make it easy. Right, there's 8 million SKUs on our site. That's an amazing value proposition, but it can be daunting and hard. And so
Yeah.
we try to help make that journey easier so that you can find what you're looking for, even if what you're looking for is different from someone else.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And, what you said about the preferences, the data, right? Leveraging data to provide inspirational and, installation services ensures that the Wayfair experience, it stays human, even at that global scale. So, that's amazing to know. Finally, let's explore the key trends that are, shaping the future of online retail. So, Connor, what key retail trends should Canadian founders focus on in 2026 or, even in the coming years? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of evolution, obviously, with AI and tooling and exciting things that are developing. I think everything has to be grounded in delivering a customer experience that works. And so there are, again, those sort of things that go through everyone's mind as they're thinking about what they're going to purchase. And so the industry will evolve, but those core things of can I get the product delivered at a good price, at fast speed, with good service are going to
Mhm.
remain. And as the technology evolves, I think it's just going to unlock, better and better insights and better costs and pricing um, amongst that. And so, despite there's chaotic turmoil, but home
Mhm.
purchases are always going to stick, are always going to mean something. And so, I think back to your question on like advice for SMEs and how they can think about if they're launching products online and um, a new business, it's about how do you start with customer focus and then look at ways to kind of test and iterate from there.
Mhm.
And with better AI tooling, the ability to test and iterate, the velocity is just such, there's such great unlocks there. So as long
Mhm.
as you're grounded in the customer experience and then you have a kind of this approach to test and learn quickly with tooling,
Yeah.
I think the iteration and ability to do all of the things we talked about well is just, going to explode.
Love that approach. Staying ahead of trends in personalization and logistics is what will define the retail winners over the next decade. And for the advice that you gave for the SMEs, that is a great reminder that success online starts with a seamless experience and ends with customer loyalty. I'm loving this conversation, Connor, and definitely I'd love for you to be back for another episode that we do. Hopefully, an in studio episode that listeners get to see. But for now, before we let you go, I'd love to do a quick time travel with you. Say, I were to give you a time machine right now, and say we were to travel 5 or 10 years into the future. When you get out of that time machine, how exactly do you envision Wayfair taking over the globe?
Good question. Um, you can if you kind of follow the Wayfair journey, right? It's starting from this online centric platform and growing an e-commerce brand over time, our
Yeah.
name getting out there, building trust like we talked about is still early days that we're working on across a bunch of different dimensions of loyalty. We have a program around verified products, which sort of helps steer customers towards the products that we vetted. So as you fast forward that, I think ability and trust to find products what they're looking for will be better. And then we've also had an exciting journey into this evolution of becoming an omni-channel retailer. And so we've
Uh-huh.
launched a couple big format stores in the US that we have been super excited about the results. The first one opened just outside Chicago. And we just opened an Atlanta store. We have announced a couple more. And so as you think about the markets Wayfair sells in, Canada being included, this journey into an omni-channel retailer and how we can combine the online experience with an in-person experience, I think is really exciting. We opened our first outlet store in Canada last year in Burlington, an outlet where customers can come. And it's the first time customers have seen our brand in person. And it's a
Mhm.
smaller stage format than this big store that we've launched in Chicago, but still, you can see us like starting to dip our toes into that. So 10 years from now, I think just the fact that Wayfair is coming at this problem, the reverse of many companies who started in person and are building online, we have this
Mhm.
online experience and now we're building in person and it is very technology forward. Feels like the app in real life as you step into the store. So I think that evolution and those stores continuing to expand across the geographies that we're in is gonna see is where the evolution will be.
Definitely, this is revolutionary, and congratulations on all the new launches that you just mentioned. It has been such a pleasure having you today on the podcast, Connor, and I can't wait for the listeners to get to know more about the essence of what Wayfair is all about. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, thanks, Kripa. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, that was Connor Delaney from Wayfair Canada. A masterclass on how to lead a national e commerce brand, launch a successful rewards program, and build a platform that empowers both customers and small businesses. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more such resources. And lastly, a very special thank you to our partners, UPS and ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering SMBs across Canada. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.